God fucking damn it, I hate these shitty pirate sites that don't always upload episodes immediately after they're released, to the point where I have to use some VPN software to access the American version of Cartoon Network's website, yet with data limitations. What a pain in the ass. So, I watched the first 2 episodes of ThunderCats War, and they were kinda bad. You know, I wanted to say ThunderCats War, more like ThunderCats Bore, but I have a feeling someone has already made that joke. I mean, it's too easy for me to be the only person to have made that connection. Anyway, since this is a controversial cartoon for many reasons, I might as well establish where I'm coming from before people start projecting their biases into me. I've never watched the original ThunderCats cartoon. I don't see myself ever doing that. It looks like shit, and I'm even willing to say that I'm more inclined to like this version over the older one based on a gut feeling I have. I don't care for the CalArt style, and don't worry, I know it's ignorant to call it that. I prefer the term beanmouth style, it makes more sense. Also, as a side point, can people please stop using the fact that John Kay was the one that originally coined the term CalArt style? First of all, most people don't give a fuck about the original meaning of the term or who came up with it. People just use it because it's easy to tell what they're talking about. Secondly, while I'm no John Kay stan and I don't agree with his and especially everyone else's usage of the term, am I just supposed to dismiss that word just because a sleazy predator was the one who invented it? So is everything associated with John Kay automatically invalidated because he's a bad person? I'm just saying that if you're gonna bring out the fact that he was a sleazy predator, at least draw some kind of connection with the actual topic of discussion. Like, what the fuck does his opinion on cartoons at the time have anything to do with his behind the scenes behavior? It's like you're committing to some pseudo sidestep variation of an association fallacy just to make people feel guilty for using that term. There are better and more honest ways of debunking the CalArt style, so please let's not do this shit. It's very faulty and manipulative. In addition, I feel like we should also remember that regardless, it's absolutely okay to hate on ThunderCats War. Yes, I'm aware it's for children. And yes, I know that the original series was also a product of its time. And yes, I know it's going for a different appeal that the staff believes caters better to the sensibilities of modern audiences. But I don't care. None of that does anything to change my ultimate opinion that this is a shitty, boring cartoon that's aesthetically displeasing to watch, and I think people are pulling their strings to defend something I just don't think deserves any praise. I don't care how unreasonable the negative backlash has become on some sides of the community, because first of all, if you revive an old beloved series and turn it into something that completely misses or deliberately ignores the appeal of the original series, like, yeah, no shit, people are gonna get upset, especially when the changes made are obviously meant to capitalize on the current zeitgeist. Secondly, even if I disagree with the opinions of the nostalgia tart shitting on Roar, I still have absolutely no reason or obligation to just sugarcoat this series when it's not offering anything in return. I'm not just gonna feel pity for a bunch of creators that I couldn't give further shit about just because they're getting bullied online, I guess. Like, oh no, a bunch of grown-ass fucking adults who knew exactly what they were getting into when they joined this project are receiving mean comments from a bunch of nobodies that they can just block from their life. Like, they're getting paid at the end of the day, which is what they ultimately care at the end of the day. You can say I'm being too insensitive, but honestly, between that and being obnoxiously apologetic for a show that I don't even like, I think I'd better take the former side. Now obviously, if you enjoyed this series and you're not just being a white knight for the sake of it, then sure, more power to you. Personally, I think this shit blows, but to give it credit, I will point out that the animation is alive all throughout. There are a lot of lively facial expressions, character animations, like how the speedster chick has her own personality in the way her sequences are animated. The gags tended to have their own distinct visual tone, like when the main character's sword was thrown in a half-assed manner, the movements were in the form of jump cuts, even in relation to everything else. The lightning strikes resulting in the entire shot blacking out with the exception of the storm and the person getting hit, all this of course happening very briefly before it would cut back to normal. Nevertheless, I personally did not find myself hooked in the aesthetic of the series. I'm not particularly fond of the color palette, not into the soft and fluffy designs and bone movements of the characters. I didn't really get the appeal of the way they look. I get that they're meant to be cute renditions of the classic ThunderCats characters, but I don't think they're cute. It's not that I think they're ugly or anything, I just don't feel like the Beanmouth redesign benefited the designs at the end of the day. I'm also disappointed that Warner Brothers caved to the aesthetic look of modern cartoons instead of preserving the authenticity of the original works, which is the one thing I can praise them for doing over the years, regardless of how I actually feel about the recent library. I think that's the most I can extrapolate about this series. I don't have anything to add in regard to the writing. I didn't understand the plot at all. Everything was fast paced and I couldn't keep up with the events. I mean, from what I remember, the plot seemed low key, dumbed down, and inconsequential anyway, so I'm not even sure if I should even care about what happened, at least in the first episode. To be honest, I didn't finish the second one because my 500 megabyte limit ran its course. I mean, from what I saw, it didn't seem to be any different from what I'd seen before, so I guess I could have finished it in the next day since the data limit resets after 24 hours, but I'm not gonna fucking watch this shit. I'm sorry. I legit have better things to do with my life. Said the guy who uploaded a video about a cartoon he won't even remember in a month. Dozens of times. What I can say is that I didn't like any of the characters because they were either one-dimensional and completely worthless or unbearably unfunny and strong emitters of the I'm too old for this shit vibes. Every joke I heard was like derivative of another joke I saw in another cartoon like a million fucking times. So I don't even know any of these writers, what their backgrounds are, or whether or not they were inspired to create this or not, but to me, all the tangible details of the writing feel like items on a marketer's checklist. Since rebooting old properties and making them more comedically driven has worked in the past, why not do it again? Since using fantasy settings and subverting the earnest presentation and tone into a comical and occasionally casual dialogue has worked in the past, why not just borrow the idea? I mean, if you're into this shit, that's fine, whatever. I'm not gonna tell you to stop watching it. Although, you could just, watch something else that's better and that you probably actually want to watch out of pure desire and not just out of pity for the creators who are, I guess, getting bullied online. I recently saw a tweet from that guy from that one Steven Universe Theory channel, Vox, that's his name, and he claimed that responding to a tweet announcing the release of ThunderCats World with rude comments such as "no thanks" or some other dickish response was pointless and that it helps no one in the end. And I guess that's kind of true, but to be fair, it's kind of funny, so maybe it does help someone, specifically me. As a last note, the ED sucks. It gave me like PPG 2016 levels of shit quality and memorability. Maybe I had slightly more to say about the show than I initially thought. I don't really see myself continuing to watch this, it's not for me. You might argue this video isn't helping anyone, but why not? I'm sure some people might be curious to hear what I have to say. And since in the animation sphere, you're either gonna see apologists and I guess maybe some genuine fans praising and preaching about how you should give it a chance and ignore the hate, or you're gonna get people who are just gonna shit on it for not living up to their nostalgic demands and throwing around dumbass terms like CalArts. I might as well be the one guy who, well, I'm not sure if I fall in the middle since I'm more negative than positive. Maybe I'm just an asshole.